Jessica.
Hi.
Just please be careful about hitting the table,
Oh, yes,
so this doesn't flip.
Okay.
I think you should move this way a little bit.
I feel like
Worry
just
about
had...
that camera.
Okay.
Oh my god, I look like a poodle.
I look like a... You look like a poodle and I look like a... I don't know what. Just I don't have any hair. It's all splashed to my head.
That's hair, Holly. That is hair.
I know, but it needs more...
You cut it though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That looks good.
It needs a little style. But okay.
I am a human. I'm not a poodle.
And I am a poodle.
No, you're a monkey, right? That's your nickname. So, can you see my eyes?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see it there, but and it doesn't matter. This interview is about Holly. Or is it an interview or a dialogue?
It's not an interview about Holly. That's boring.
Okay. Let's have a dialogue about what is.
What is?
What is that we had a really nice dinner. Completely spontaneously. Don't move away.
Okay, I know, but I can't... Oh, I have to look this way? Okay.
Yeah, just look there. You can see me through that mirror.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
And you can also look at me. It's okay, too.
Okay.
Whatever you like. Holly is an educator.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So can you tell me about your education background? Have you been a teacher for a long time?
I haven't, no.
But you taught at the Oak Grove School.
I taught at the Oak Grove School.
For how long?
4 years. And I studied Montessori. So I've trained to work with 3 to 6 year olds.
Mm-hmm.
And since moving back to Ojai, that will be my new job, is working with young children.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's something I'm very interested in, education, and I've worked with young children all the way through high school age. So I feel comfortable with any age group as an educator, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. In education, in the classroom setting, and also in an administrative capacity too. Yeah. So I like both. I like the behind the scenes organizing, and I like the front lines with the kids. Feels like the front line.
Did you have an interest in Krishnamurti before you come to Oak Grove?
I did, yes. I first was given a Krishnamurti book in 1994.
Okay.
I was working at a health food store. And
here or?
In Long Beach, where I grew up.
Yeah.
And one of the women there was reading Krishnamurti at work. And something drew me to the cover.
Which book was it?
Talks with American Students. It's a gray cover.
Yeah.
And it talks with American students. And then after, it was one of those things, you know, and when something presents itself in life where you know you're supposed to respond to it or move towards it, it was like I found the book, and then I ended up driving up to Ojai, and I visited the Krishnamurti archives, and I found out there was a school, and then I felt a strong conviction in my heart that I wanted to teach there, but I had no sense of how to go about.
You had never taught before?
I taught as through my education in college. I had been an early childhood assistant. I'd worked with young children, and then after college I worked in a learning disabled, not disabled, but remedial reading program for 4th and 5th graders. So I was in education shortly after college, just temporarily, and then it didn't stick. I've always had a lot of different interests, like health and education and philosophy, kind of.
So you read some books after that one?
So I read Talks with American Students and The Flight of the Eagle. That was like my go-to book, Flight of the Eagle.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, I really liked that one. And then all of the commentaries on living.
The 3 books.
Yes.
You read the whole thing.
I feel like I did. Yeah. I feel like I visited them at some point. What about you? What was your first?
I read my first book was Think on These Things.
Think on These Things. Okay.
Yeah, somebody left it at my doorstep. I came back from a yoga retreat. I was in college, and I found this thing at my doorstep, this book, and who left it here? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I didn't read it for like a year.
Oh,
just sat on my
showed up.
sat on my bookshelf. And then once I took a seminar somewhere, and they said, once you get to these higher, at the end of it, they said, once you get to these higher states of consciousness, then you can understand people like Krishnamurti. And I was like, Krishnamurti, I'd heard, I think I have a book. So then I went and read it, and it just blew me away. Yeah, and then I found out he was alive, so I went to see him. And then I read and read and read and read probably 80 books. Just always finding new things, you know. So really studied it.
Yeah.
And it's an applied thing, because just to read it is meaningless, but you have to actually test it in daily life, which is not a matter of choice anyway. I mean, when you're exposed to an idea on a challenge like this, you naturally want to. It's not that you say, okay, now I'm going to apply it in daily life, but you live, and then it hits you in the head. Oh, wait, I read this thing yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At Oak Grove School, did you have in the high school some sort of a Krishnamurti hour or an inquiry hour or something like this?
I think
Culture
they did.
class.
Yeah.
At that time.
I wasn't involved at the time. I wasn't involved in the with the students per se. I was just with the international. Mostly administrative, and then an early morning class with the international students. But I think they did have, like, they call it like an inquiry period, or their home, like a what am I thinking?
Yeah, but they don't have that now.
I don't know.
I know they don't.
Yeah, I'm hoping that. I mean, my sense is that it's probably woven in with different, depending on the affinity for, with the material for some of the instructors. It's maybe woven in, but it's not like
minimally, I think.
But I actually subbed there, and I know I think it's kind of hard to sort of. They had like an hour set aside at one point, and what would happen was they'd end up doing things like, maybe doing a craft project together, or finding a way to commune together, but it wasn't always through inquiry, because you can't really force that. If there's not a natural drive to it, not all students, families, or students themselves come in with an interest in that at the school. So to sort of like manufacture an environment.
Well, it has to be optional anyway. You can't make it a requirement.
But it wasn't optional. It was set aside as this hour that you would like. That you could use the material to go into, and I don't know. I never sat in, so I probably met with varying success. But
Karen was saying that this subject came up in the trustee meeting, in the meeting we had with the trustees a couple weeks ago.
Gathering,
right?
Yeah.
And because both India and both Indian schools and the UK school have something like this. They call it culture class or K hour or inquiry hour or something like this.
Yeah.
But Oak Grove doesn't, and I met several students at Oak Grove this day and age, because at different epochs they had different ways of going about this, and they have absolutely nothing. I mean, it might be that one teacher might have an interest and he might say something about it, but there's no. But I really think it's important to have this. I have a feeling that they're shying away from Krishnamurti for some reason, because it's not. I don't know why, but because the schedules are so busy. So it's so easy to get into the rat race per se, but this is such a precious set of, I don't call them even teachings, I call them challenges and pointers, because it's not a doctrine, it's something that it's thrown at you, you have to go and find out for yourself, so the pointer itself is not important. But I think the kids, especially that age, I'm talking about like junior and senior high school, earlier they can pick it up from the atmosphere or whatever you want to call it. But at the juniors and seniors, I think they should have an opportunity in the schedule built in, the space built in, not so busy that there's no time for it. That if they're inclined, they go to this class and they read some together and then discuss it together. I think it's a very beneficial thing.
Yeah, it would be, I mean, the way you're describing it. I'm not involved with the school right now, and so I don't have any...
I know, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just talking about the subject, because Karen said they've tried many different things.
Okay.
And
nothing's really taken, kind of.
Well, they've tried. The school's been around for a long time, so different periods they've tried different things.
Yeah.
Right now they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
But I think that trend is a little bit risky, because to do nothing could set a trend itself and go on for years not doing anything, and just, there was this guy who founded this school, great. But the kid graduates and they have no idea, never even read a page. I mean, the counter argument is by Mark Lee, for example, is that they pick it up from the environment. Krishnamurti said, don't go direct, do it through dialogue, and so on. But for little kids, but we're talking 17-year-olds here. I mean, this age is an age where you can be quite discontent, can be quite thirsty. You are dealing with more deeper questions of life, right? 16, 17? I was, at least, that
Sure,
age.
yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like I have a strong opinion about it, in the sense that it's been so much, even when I was teaching, not even, but when I was teaching 5th grade, because of my what's the word, like affinity with the work, or the way reading Krishnamurti influenced and affected me, I couldn't help but use, it was almost like a filter through which I saw.
And that's what they were talking about, the counter argument, like, through the atmosphere, through the vibes, and that
you're
approach,
right. At a certain
style.
age, you can take directly from the text and discuss it.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
That's not, why not? And I don't know that I don't know that the teachers don't do that at all. I can't imagine that they would never.
I think it's minimal.
I don't know.
If ever. And at least there's no dedicated hour in the schedule. This I know for sure.
Yeah. I guess I don't have the interest right now to make an opinion about it one way or the other.
I'm not asking you. It's just something that came up. But I would like to get your opinion about how it impacted your life, or did it impact your life?
In the school, or
no. Reading these several books that you told me, and I suppose there was some application in daily life, right? It somehow enriched you applied it in your daily life, I assume.
Well,
some of the principles,
not in the beginning. It was sort of like someone had just turned the lights on in a dark room for a moment, and when you're kind of blinking because you're like, it's so bright.
Well, that's an impact.
Yes, but you said apply it in daily life. I think I wasn't necessarily applying it.
If you're walking around in a dark room versus a light room, that's a pretty big application.
No, I'm saying for a moment I could see, and then I think more for me right now, having been to the May gathering recently, and listen to an audio and a video and watch a video, and then sit in a group and have a dialogue, and then also do that in someone's home. I haven't done this in a few years, dialogue. So, but I'm doing my own process of inquiry with other things. So, it's like I heard it through another, fresh ear somehow. I'm sure that's true for anyone who visits the material over and over again, that you'll discover something new based on where you are in your life, So it's a living thing. It's not something to be referred to as a static teaching, like you were saying. Yeah. So then maybe subtly, by reading it, it was working on me, making me question where I hadn't before. But it was a very slow process, for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of 94 being introduced, and then 7 years later actually becoming part of a school that had more of an opportunity to engage with it.
When did you read the commentaries on living? Or let's say, in 94 you read Talk with American Students.
I looked at it. I don't even know if I read it.
You didn't read it?
No, I read it, but I didn't swallow it whole like I did Flight of the Eagle. Something about.
When did you read Flight of the Eagle?
God, sometime after that.
How much longer? Like a year after? 2 years later? 3 years?
Probably.
Take a guess.
Yeah, probably maybe 4.
Okay, so let's take the first book that you really delved into.
Yeah.
Flight of the Eagle.
Probably Flight of the Eagle.
Okay. So when you read this book, some things about it rang in your head during your the next day after you read it, or the day after that, probably.
Well, the moment you open it, it's like nothing I'd read in college or in my philosophy classes.
Yeah. So you understood it and you applied it.
No.
To a certain degree.
No, you make it sound so straightforward. It wasn't like that. It was more that it stirred something. It wasn't like, oh, I do this, now I'm going to do this. It was more like it makes you pause and makes you quit.
I'm sorry if I misspoke.
No,
But when I say applied, I didn't mean intentionally. That okay, now I'm going to try that.
I guess that word sounds like exactly. Very like deliberate.
Deliberate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I meant by applying. What I meant was you learn something from it, and this learning has its own life in a way.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
That's what I mean.
It's like, and learning is a tricky word too. I would even say I read it and it helped me look at my life. I wasn't necessarily learning, because learning feels like accumulation, like you could
even better.
Because I can't even re-articulate what it is I learned. It's more like, oh, this perception that had been not even pointed at before, this seeing was absent from my experience, and then all of a sudden someone's speaking about the quality of perception or what it, looking, and then you catch yourself looking, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so different than anything else I've ever done.
Or when I was reading, at some point I was feeling like, oh, I knew this, but I didn't know that I know it. He's like pointing something which was so obvious that I was ignoring in a way. But
because it's like so close.
So yeah, it's not necessarily learning from that, but how can we pay? I think you said it well. It brings up a number of points, makes a number of indications to certain things, and then you can explore yourself. I mean, I went through this for a while where I questioned really, and I still do sometimes, because I don't believe in what he says. I don't just agree with what he says, or with what anybody says. It needs to make sense to me. I need to, because there's so much garbage thrown at us. You go to the bookstore and there's like shelves and after shelves of self-help and beliefs and just nonsense. I mean, some of it is senseful, but some is nonsense. So I don't know. I learned early in life to question everything, and because I have a brain myself. And I can examine everything and find out if it's right or not. Especially in this subject. If it's a specialized subject like physics or something, then authority plays a role. The professor is the authority. But in this field, you are it. I mean, you can examine things and find out if they're true or not.
It's funny when you say that, like. What it brings up for me is
date,
yeah. What it brings up for me is that
we're having dessert at the same time
and fake coffee.
And those power balls, what are they?
Rock and raw balls.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. I'm noticing, like, it came up within the last week that there's a point where it's almost like I have to, and this sounds like a tricky word, not faith, but take what Krishnamurti's saying, or anyone that I've felt like there's something there. They're not pulling a fast one on you. They're not trying to sell a technique. They're not trying to make you feel better. Like, have more of this in your life. Like, it's not a remedy for like your humanness. It's more like moving beyond all that we normally think of as life. To me. Like, what's behind all of that.
I fully understand.
So I don't know. It's almost like at first I wasn't aware that I was trusting what he had to say. It was like, try it on for yourself, kind of Krishnamurti's, what he's pointing at. And then recently, actually not even recently, I'd had numerous experience where if you look at different paths of yoga, there's something called bhakti yoga, which is like a devotional. And I've discovered there's an aspect of my being that sort of resonates with what he's saying, even though it's not a bhakti process. There's just a feeling of so much gratitude and love for someone being so willing to take the care and the time to point this out to us, that it translates as like almost like a devotional love, not to the degree that I would sing like mantra praises to Krishnaji kind of thing, but more like there's a gratitude, yeah, and so, and even I know for myself when I was exploring different kind of expressions of spirit, that I was drawn to Hare Krishna for a while because it was like, eat and sing and chant and dance in the name of God. How beautiful is that? You know, I was like, bring it on. But then I quickly saw like the limitations. It's not just about that. You know? I mean, so definitely there's a brain here, there's a mind, there's a brain here that wants to be engaged and not just shut off and, you know, eat prasad and dance all day. Right. Yeah, and just repeat and become some cookie
some uninteresting melodies.
Yeah. As a musician.
Some of it, the George Harrison song is great. That's a good one. But then the main chant is pretty boring, melodically.
So I guess I'm going about this long way of saying like, it's almost like there maybe a maturing or something, as if someone before it was like, I want to find out for myself, you know, like this little bit of like pushing at any authority, and now I'm discerning the difference between like someone trying to impress upon me some trip and someone else who's really giving you a gift, so you don't have to suffer as much through something. If you really take it to heart, you can apply it, like you're saying. So there's like less resistance somehow.
I see what you mean.
You know,
yeah.
And it's subtle because it's like at the same time you don't want to take it lock, stock, and barrel and go around saying, "Well, Krishnamurti said," like take it in as like a doctrine or something.
Yeah.
You know, that shuts off that part of the brain that you're talking about. I think that's
it defeats the whole. I mean, if somebody goes around and says, "Krishnamurti said this, therefore it must be true," it's meaningless. But on the other hand, it's possible that somebody says something which is same as what Krishnamurti said, but only because our vocabulary is limited. So I might say you are the world, but I'm not saying it because Krishnamurti said it. I'm saying it because it is so. And I can't find any better words. For example, you know.
Yeah.
But there's
or also, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, also, if you've really seen something, you can feel in a person if what they're saying comes from a place of like,
genuine,
I've looked into, you know, like I've sat with this for a while. They're not just like, oh, truth is a pathless land, so hey, you know, like just kind of flippantly like throwing out an aphorism or something. Like,
oh, he said it, so it must be so.
Well, there's a maybe a tradition of like the, you know, defer to the authority of sort of like a traditional way of relating to the guru, you know. It's like
that is the tradition, that is the habit of the human brain to do that. But I mean,
more strongly in some cultures than others, or more strongly
I think it's pretty universal
to just defer to someone, like to take authority as, and
to worship the person, worship the messenger versus the message that's important, you know. This is also a tendency. Although gratitude is a beautiful thing. There was an ancient Hindu Greek philosopher who said, high virtue, if not the highest.
Gratitude.
Yes. And it's missing a lot in this day and age. I have to tell some young kids, you know, part of the education should be thankfulness. I mean, I came from a place where, I mean, even the religion, Islam, which is where I was born into, is a very thankful religion. During the daily prayers, there's a lot of thanking of God. So when I came, and it's kind of part of the culture. When I came to America when I was a kid, my friends were saying in school, like, "Oh, you thank a lot. You know, you say a lot of times you say thank you." But it's all right. It's not a bad thing. But this day and age, especially in modern societies and rich societies, kids just take things for granted. They think they just have the right, or they have the birthright to have this and that and that and that and that. They have no idea that other kids around the world have nothing even close to this. You know, so they're not grateful. But that's part of the education, I think. Something that parents can help and educators can help with. To learn to appreciate what you have. and not just take it for granted.
That's important, and if it's heartfelt too, because if you can build up. You could be well-meaning, but you could build up further resistance if you say thank you to your grandmother. I had a little bit of conditioning like that. Like, you don't understand. When I said gratitude towards what Krishnamurti was speaking of, I remember watching a video at a dialogue weekend once, and the immensity of his attention and just
the energy he puts
the
into
energy behind it all was so, like, it was so overwhelming. It just translated as love for me. It wasn't about the tone of his voice or even the content of what he was talking about. It was just like, there's so much care here. Care is synonymous with love. It's like, wow, to be that willing to stay with something.
Right.
Because it wasn't like it's not like he has anything to gain. It's well, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't need to go and say what.
It's so true. I mean, I'm walking
it's
around.
It's not a personality like, make sure you like me on Facebook. It's not like he's trying to get.
It's out of love and concern. I walk around wherever I am, and when I see, for example, a young person is smoking, or if a person is sad or crying, or whatever it is, or then I speak with them, and I try to get them to question their own habits and so on and so forth. I have nothing to gain from it. I'm not propagating any ideologies or anything, but just to try to help another person, and or to help them help themselves in a way. And Krishnamurti's, that's where he's coming from too. Early in his life, he said his goal in life his mission was to heal the mind of humanity. And this is very profound and very beautiful, because that's really where the problem is. The mind of humanity is injured, because especially in the modern days, where we think too much about many areas where thought doesn't belong to, and so it gives rise to confusions and unhappiness and suicide and breakups and on and on and on and on. Utter unhappiness, stupid ways of living and escapes, and all of these things is because we're not happy, or because the mind is injured in a way by too much thinking. It's one aspect of it. So you pointed out that the importance of finding that the mind learning the limits of thinking, because then so many problems are solved. Because so many of the psychological problems, and I tell you, okay, let me finish that statement. So many of psychological problems are because of thought trying to get into areas where it's not its place. It goes beyond its limits. It tries to go beyond its limit into areas where it doesn't belong. I heard Peter Strauss was saying that Santa Barbara has the highest number of psychotherapists per capita in the whole country. You go to Switzerland, if you fail your driver test for 3 times, you need to go see a psychologist or psychiatrist.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, as soon as you're happy, these kids who are discontented, like, teenagers, they're having problems with their parents, they don't want to study or whatever, mental hospital. Lock them up.
Really? In Switzerland?
Yeah. It's so common. Or put them on meds. Medicate this, give the kids medication. Here is not much better. A lot of things which are just normal for kids to be the way they are, put them on attention deficit disorder medication or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's just a reflection of a narrow view of what it means to be a human. I mean, like you're saying, to take a young child, and it's easy to generalize because every family goes through their own grief around their child's developmental challenges, and I know it's not easy to know what to do, and if you've been raised in a model where you work hard and your employer gives you insurance, and the insurance you receive is in the medical model, you might not think you have other options to explore,
It's like a free rope, you hang yourself, in a way.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the health and well-being of your child, like, sometimes I'm just saying, it's easy to have a statement about it, but it's also feel some sense of compassion for that process of, like, finding something that you feel can meet the challenge, you know? And it's also, so you never want to get too against anything, because there may be a place for everything in a sense, like maybe medicine. There is,
absolutely.
You know, like
I'm not
our
against medicine.
You know, so but to see that it's.
I'm just saying it's overused.
Yeah.
And it's entered into areas where there's other solutions. I know so many cases that of youngsters. I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking like, you know, teenagers, late teens, or even people in their 20s, or even older, where I know a guy who was in medication for 10 years, psychiatric medication.
Yeah.
They still couldn't tell what was wrong with him.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what? There was nothing wrong with him.
Absolutely. Right. If you can go into a doctor's office and make it up and say, I'm feeling really sad, and and immediately they don't test your blood, they don't there's no like there's no like way to confirm that. You could get medication that day, because that's what they're there, that's their context they're in. You have a feeling, we're here to solve it, you know. Like, well, if you're human, you have a feeling. I mean, that's the extreme of it. I mean, there's definitely clinical depression. I, for one, took a lot of medications in my 20s. I threw them down the toilet one day and did massive amounts of yoga, got Reiki and all this energy work, and never went back. Like, never took another med. But I definitely needed something, and no one around me knew to send me to yoga camp, you know, which I ended up going to.
Right.
So it was like a process of elimination. It was definitely a part of my karmic journey. I don't know what it was, but
however, we can rationalize anything.
But to think that, I think with people like Oprah and the community that's available online, there is more access to information, and more people are conscious of yoga. You know, at the YMCA you can take a class, so there's more of maybe a access to things.
Yeah, but yoga has become, I mean, yoga is great. I do it every day almost. But yoga has also become more like an aerobics or exercise and so on, which if the rishis who invented it knew what yoga has become in the West, they would be rolling in their graves probably. But I mean, it's good. At least it's healthy.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
it's much better than,
well, like anything that you do. What's your intention behind it, or what, you know? Are you doing it to have a great ass, or, you know? It's like, what is it? Do you? I mean, my friend's saying he thinks of it as a form of physical prayer. That sounds more maybe in alignment with, you know, like your.
Well, I think initially they probably invented it. I mean, there are many stories. The one which makes most sense to me is that they invented it. The kings the Rajas. They invented it in order to stay young. Because at that point, because of climate change, there was a herb that they used to eat to keep them young. It wasn't available anymore, so they invented yoga. This is a very authentic story. I'm not making it up. And I also cannot tell you that it's true 100%. But it's the one that makes most sense to me, and it comes from the most credible sources. But it's a way of staying young, and a way of reversing gravity, and skill in action, and attention, coordinating breath with movement. But mostly it's for the physical. It's not a way of approaching some supernatural state. But
some people use it to do that, though.
Of course.
Yeah, with breath control and all that. But
I mean, the supernatural may come anyway as a consequence of being more healthy and having more oxygen and so on. Then you're more open to other dimensions, but you cannot deliberately use this for.
Well, having supernatural powers, if you listen to any teacher that's really serving humanity because they want humans to be free of their suffering, they're not purporting to, like, that's not the goal, is to be able to levitate, or, you know, it's not about acquiring all these cities, you know, these powers. It's sort of like, kind of, I mean, so you can levitate. How are you?
But even that's fake. Nobody can levitate.
Well,
they just jump.
I don't know.
That's what they do.
I don't want to say that.
Have you ever seen anybody levitate?
I have never spent time in certain places that people have maybe devoted 40 years to some practice that they could actually do it. I don't want to say that some people
But nobody can levitate. The ones that I've seen that they can levitate.
I think I saw someone on YouTube levitate.
Yeah. I can. You can make anything for you and put it on YouTube, but I
mean, I think
Maharishi people and someone who practice levitation, it's just basically
bouncing,
jumping.
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't.
And what's the point anyway?
Well, that's what we're getting at is that. What are you bringing to whatever you're doing? Are you doing a yoga practice to build a personality so you can tell people that? Just to strengthen your ego in a sense? Are you engaging in a quest for spiritual knowledge so that it equates to powers? I mean, and all of that is possible. Anything is possible in the play of life, right? So
sure.
Anything can be sort of misapplied or, but the beauty of something that resonates in truth, like at some point it's bound to collapse if someone's imparting some other distortion on it, like I'm doing this for power. At some point, I mean, I'm just making this up as I go.
I understand what you mean.
It's not really going to hold up because if someone really examined, it's like smoke and mirrors because that person is still suffering. Like they're not fully
right. Exactly.
Like when you meet someone like Krishnamurti speaking from a place of he's seeing what he's saying. It's not something he's saying as an idea to try out. You try out. It's actually it's alive in him.
Right.
So he could speak about it his whole life.
Yeah.
I mean that's all he did really.
Yeah.
So.
Or you can get caught on tape like Sai Baba, somebody giving you a little ash ball, and then you go.
Oh.
And all these gullible people. Oh, he brings ash out of the air.
The booty, yeah. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's fake. Or regurgitate golden eggs. Like even this younger guru is doing it now. But it's fake, obviously.
Like little magicians, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old trick.
I'm sure there's a lot of trickster swamis in holy place.
Big business.
Yeah.
Rajneesh had 100-some Rolls Royces. Have you seen that? Did you see that movie? In the Swiss documentary.
On
Excellent
Osho?
movie. It's called Bhagavan and His Bodyguard and Secretary. And it's fascinating. It's a documentary on Rajneesh.
It's funny because if you read Osho, a lot of what he's like, if you just pick up a text and read what he's saying, it feels like it has some merit, a lot of it, and then you try and reconcile the teachings with the intent of the person or something. And you have to find out if you can take it all in or not. You might just need to leave it alone. Cause
Osho caters to a lot of people because he puts it in kind of a watered down, simpler language, and also he brings in a lot of other concepts which people like to discuss, like sex. But he was a philosophy professor, And in fact, one year when Kay was ill, I think they asked him to go speak. This is before he became a guru. But he's a very good businessman. This guy had a great brain for business. And he came to the West and he saw the gullibility. The market is there. So I don't blame Osho. I blame the gullible people who fell for it, But and then he used, like where in Oregon they had this ranch and so on, and then when he would drive, people would put flowers on his Rolls Royces. So he had some people sell these people the roses, So he made money every step of the way. I met a mother and daughter recently, very beautiful people. They go to India to this guy who is I think he claimed to be a reincarnation of Yogananda. He looks like him. If it's the same guy, I don't know. There's so many gurus that you can get lost because it's good business. They pay $6,000 for a 3-week course with the guru plus airfare. $6,000 is a lot of money in India. I got a 7-course meal for like $1.50. Freshly prepared vegetarian. So anyway. Like your thinking starts going in an area where insecurity is about some body's image about themselves or about you, and all this whole psychological realm. It's like, the way I see it, it's like brushing your hair with a toothbrush or brushing your teeth with a hairbrush. It's a wrong application of the tool. The tool itself is good. This is what I was going to say before. There is a right place for medication. There's a right place for thinking. But
do you feel like your relationship with, maybe it's obvious because as we grow, do you feel like your relationship with what you've read in Krishnamurti has evolved over time, or do you feel like it has this quality that's sort of remained a certain way? Or
the question is, but look, let me explain it this way. These are certain pointers that I read. Somebody came along and said, can we live without fear? Okay. Can we not think when we don't need to think? Mm-hmm. Can we live without an image of ourselves and an image of others and so on? This whole idea of identity and going around thinking I am this and I am that, and so on and so forth. Or somebody comes and says there's a rose down there. So the person is out. He's not important anymore. If you're asking what is the relationship, or how this inquiry into these pointers and challenges have evolved, if that's what you're asking, I can tell you that some of these questions are very profound, and over the years I've gotten to see the depth of them.
Okay, yeah, that's answering the question. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like, it's not a self-improvement course. It's
self-exploration, perhaps, because we read the book of ourselves. We are in new relationships. We see things come up in different situations. We can learn how we act and see how, as things come up, the limitations, the conditionings, and those things can drop off. And this whole thing with living without fear is just such an immense thing, because the whole world is so much based on fear, and it's almost fearful for the world to face people who are fearless. Trader Joe's fearless flyer.
They're selling.
Anyway, so should we end this conversation?
Yeah.
Thank you. It was very interesting.
Cheers.
Cheers with some fake coffee.